The Mercedes-Benz E-Class has a long and illustrious history, but the E-Class name wasn't used until the W124 of the 1990s. Since then, the E-Class has been the go-to luxury car for businessmen who wanted a comfortable sedan, or hooligans who wanted a big V8 powered sedan with AMG written on the trunk. Now, the Mercedes E-Class enters its 6th generation. So is this the best E-Class yet? Let's go for a drive and find out. You can get the new Mercedes E-Class with a few different engines. There's the turbocharged 4-cylinder in the E350, a turbocharged inline-6 in the E450, a more powerful turbocharged inline-6 in the E53, and eventually I'm sure that there will be a big V8 with a 63 AMG badge on the trunk. This one is the E450, so the turbocharged inline-6 engine produces 375 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque. This sedan weighs just under 2 tons, and Mercedes claims a 0 to 100 km/h sprint in about 4.5 seconds. This engine also has a little bit of help from a 48-volt mild hybrid system, which improves the fuel economy by just a bit. It also makes the engine a bit more responsive and provides a smoother auto start-stop system. Like many modern engines today, peak torque is just below 2000 RPM, so you just roll on the throttle and the engine picks up right away. But because of the 48-volt mild hybrid system, this engine does some pretty clever things whenever you switch it into eco mode. When you're going above 50 kilometers an hour, every time that you lift your foot off the throttle pedal, the engine shuts off for a very brief period. This allows the car to travel just a little bit further without losing any momentum and, of course, without using any fuel. As soon as you put your foot down on the throttle again or brake hard enough, the engine immediately fires up. And this is a very smooth and unobtrusive system. Speaking of fuel savings, this car can achieve up to 7.7 liters per 100 kilometers on a highway and 10.8 liters per 100 kilometers in a city. I'm currently averaging about 9.1 liters per 100 kilometers. But what I have noticed on some occasions while driving mostly on highways, I can actually get as low as 6 liters per 100 kilometers. So if you drive mostly on highways with this E450, you too can get really good fuel economy. That is, if you have a light foot. Dynamics-wise, this new E450 drives pretty well around corners. I mean, it's not very sporty feeling, but then again, it doesn't have an AMG badge on the trunk. The car feels composed, there's not much body roll, and the steering is light, so it's easy to maneuver. But my biggest complaint of the driving dynamics of this new E-Class has to do with the brakes. For some reason, Mercedes-Benz just can't get them right. It feels like there's a disconnect from putting your foot on the brake pedal to the brakes themselves. They feel firm, but only when you really stomp on them, and even then, they just don't give you the same confidence as the brakes in some other vehicles of this class do. Under lighter applications, like when you're just poodling around town, it just feels like as though there's nothing really underneath your foot. And also on top of that, the pedal does travel quite a lot. I don't know what it is about Mercedes-Benz and not being able to develop a good feeling brake pedal. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that the brakes don't work because they have plenty of stopping power to bring this E450 to a complete stop. It's just, they don't inspire confidence. This new generation of the Mercedes-Benz E450 is available with adaptive air suspension and rear-wheel steering up to 4.5 degrees. Unfortunately, this particular demo car does not have that option. The aromatic suspension and rear-wheel steering are part of a package. And although this car doesn't have it, the ride is still actually really good. The body gets settled very quickly after it hits a big bump, and even the bumps themselves, like whenever you drive over a pothole or a manhole cover, they don't feel as harsh as they do in some other luxury vehicles of this size. Plus, it's really quiet in this cabin, much quieter than that Mercedes-Benz GLS 580 that I previously reviewed last week. The engine doesn't make much noise under normal driving situations, and there is a lot less road noise from the tires in the cabin. Inside the new Mercedes-Benz E-Class, it is business as usual, as in, you don't really get that many physical buttons or toggle switches. In fact, the only physical buttons that you do get are the auto start stop and the window switches. Everything else is either a touchscreen function or a capacitive touch button. Of course, the first thing that you'll notice in this new E-Class is the Super Screen, not to be confused with the Hyper Screen of the EQ series. This Super Screen is a little bit smaller, consisting of just two screens that look as though it's part of one bigger screen, and the digital driver instrument screen is completely separate from this Super Screen. The main infotainment touchscreen measures 14.4 inches, and the passenger touchscreen measures 12 inches. This car, of course, has the latest MBUX infotainment system, which has crisp and clear graphics. Some of the menu options are a little bit deeper within the system, but it's not as bad as the previous iteration as MBUX. As for that passenger screen, all you can do is set a navigation destination, change the radio, adjust the passenger seat, or browse the internet and watch movies. The rest of this interior, as I said, is very typical Mercedes-Benz, from the way that it looks to the way that it feels to the way that you control all the different functions. Unfortunately, Mercedes-Benz is doubling down on all of these touch controls and capacitive touch controls, which I don't really like. I much prefer the previous iteration of Mercedes-Benz vehicles with toggle switches and physical buttons. But that's just how it is in modern day Mercedes-Benz cars. As for interior space in these front seats, it feels just fine for my 6'4" height. I have plenty of legroom and plenty of headroom, but keep in mind that this seat is in its lowest position right now. And even so, I have good visibility out the front, side, blind zones, and even out the back. So all in all, very typical Mercedes-Benz interior up here in the front seats. Now let's go check out the back seats. The back seats of the Mercedes-Benz E-Class are not too bad considering my tall 6'4" height and sitting behind my tall driving position. If it was somebody shorter that was driving the car, then I'd have a little bit more legroom. But as it is now, my knees are right up against the back of the front seat. They don't feel squished at all, but they are touching the back of it. There's plenty of space for my feet, but headroom is quite tight. My hair is right up against the headliner. Back here you do get a couple of air vents as well as two USB-C ports, but there is quite a substantial hump in the center, so anybody sitting in the middle seats, you won't have that much legroom. The outermost seats are heated on this E-Class, and of course you do get some cup holders in the center armrest. And that's about it for the back seats of the E-Class. Now let's go check out the trunk. In the trunk, you are getting 540 liters of cargo space, and of course it is a power-operated trunk. The back seats fold 40-20-40, and there are release buttons to either side of the trunk. Underneath the trunk floor, you unfortunately do not get a spare wheel, but you do have a little bit of space. And you also get this nifty little thing. I can unfold it. There we go. How cool is that? I like that. Yeah, that's the Mercedes-Benz E-Class. Like many new vehicles today, the latest generation E-Class has become more expensive than the last. It now starts at $83,900 Canadian, with this demo vehicle costing $99,300 as it was equipped. For all that money, of course, the Mercedes-Benz E-Class comes with a lot of convenience features, most of which are things that you would expect from a luxury car like this, such as heated, ventilated, and massaging front seats. As I mentioned earlier, the back seats are also heated. It has power rear sunshade, a panoramic sunroof, a head-up display, surround view cameras, leather upholstered seats, although I do have to say that the leather doesn't feel quite as nice as it does in some other vehicles, but you can option it with Nappa leather instead. There's also the 4D Burmeister surround sound system. What that 4D refers to is that the front seats can actually vibrate to the beat of the music. You're also getting an interior camera which faces all of the occupants. Now, I don't really see that many business people who are probably going to be owning this car, taking too many selfies with this camera, and I also don't see this car being used as an Uber. In that situation, a camera like this is very useful. Most likely, this camera is going to be used for making conference calls, but then again, if you're a business person and has to make a conference call while driving, I don't think that's the best time management. But anyway, it's included in this car. And this car also has a couple of features to aid when you're parking it and also when you're driving it to make it for a more relaxing driving experience. Not only does it have adaptive cruise control with stop go function along with lane centering, but it can also make lane changes at the push of the indicator stalk. In some instances, it can also make lane changes on its own. For example, if there's a slower moving vehicle ahead, then it will scan the left lane for traffic. If there's an open space, it will initiate a lane change without any input from the driver. Once you arrive at your destination, the car can detect parking spots and park in them either forwards, backwards, or perpendicularly if it's on the side of the road. It will also pull out of a parking spot if you find it too difficult to perform the maneuver yourself. The exterior styling of the 2025 Mercedes-Benz E-Class remains elegant, although not too dissimilar from the outgoing generation. The adaptive LED headlights have a single LED blade on the top, along with two LED lights underneath each LED projector. The grille is made up of little Mercedes-Benz logos, and there's more Mercedes-Benz stars in the taillights. The negative space in the center is the Mercedes logo. But the exhaust pipe surrounds are fake, as the real exhaust pipes are hidden underneath the bumper. Along the side, it has pop-out door handles, which will presumably freeze in sub-zero temperatures, and the optional 20-inch AMG wheels add to the overall elegance of the E-Class's design. In the end, this is the quietest, smoothest, and most technologically advanced version of the E-Class yet. Of course, it does incorporate those horrible capacitive touch controls that are part of the Mercedes design language, but if you can look past that, this is arguably one of the best luxury sedans on sale right now. In the meantime, if you would like to know more about this Mercedes-Benz E450, I have a more detailed written review of it over on my website. You can find that link in the video description or click on the pop-up banner right up here. And as always, I will see you in the next car, truck, or most likely it'll be an SUV next time. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and see you in the next one.